Everybody good? All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arlisha Wilson. I will be the chair of today's meeting. Thank you all for being here. We're going to first get started by reading the preamble. I'll turn it over to you, Madam Secretary.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, April 14th. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raised hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raised hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand feature icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that call-in users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we call the roll?
Sure. Mr. Madison.
Present.
Ms. Holzer.
Present.
Ms. Faith.
Present.
I see Ms. Maroka is joining us at the table now. Thank you. And Ms. Wilson.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 5 members this morning.
All right. Perfect. Do we have any postponements or withdrawals this morning?
We do not.
All right, so we are going to go right ahead and call the first case. I have a property at 2318 Tate Avenue. Do we have an appellate present for this matter? Is anyone here for the case, property located at 2318 Tate Avenue?
Yes, present.
Oh, perfect. All right, we'll go ahead and read the case in since we have an appellate. Ms. Holder?
Woman.
I'm sorry.
This is Councilman Joe Jones. Wanted to see the order for today's agenda for East 154th Street. If we could possibly get that one, if we'll moved up.
Yes, that one is actually next on the agenda, so just hold tight for us.
You're wonderful. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Appreciate
Not a problem. All right, Ms. Holder?
Our first case is calendar number 24-181. This is at 2318 Tate Avenue. Arlen Acevedo, owner, proposes to change an proposes to enclose a portion of their open front porch to create a mudroom in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2, with a note that the appellant must show that these conditions, the conditions listed in the agenda, are applicable regarding the front yard setback. And with that, I'll hand it over. Who's going to do the oath?
I'll let Ms. Roca do it.
All right, I'll hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state your name, spell your name, and give your address, please.
I do. Chris Harsh, KRISHARSH, Cleveland City Council, Ward 13, 601 Lakeside.
Thank you. And is there anyone on the call for this case?
Ms. Acevedo?
Yes.
Can you please raise your hand, state I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address?
I do.
And your name, please?
Aileen Acevedo?
Can you spell it for the court reporter?
Yes, it's AILEEN ACEBD
And your address, please.
2318 Tate Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44109.
Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Roca. I'll go with history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that a permit was issued to erect a two-story dwelling in 1913, a garage in 1925, and a dwelling addition in 1928. There are no variances on file. And then in the more recent history, Madam Chair, we do see that in 2016, rental registration was issued to the property, and in 2023, a lead safe certificate was applied for, and the status is as inactive. And that's all that I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the front yard setback requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. And then there's a note that the board is limited in its power to grant a front yard setback.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to Ms. Acevedo. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name. Do you want to tell us about your project?
I planning to close half of the front porch to create a moon room due to the weather in Cleveland is, it's very cold. And I'm trying to upgrade the house because the design is it's not updated a long time ago, so I wanna upgrade the house.
Okay, so it sounds like you're putting a mud room on the front of the house. That seems pretty straightforward. Are there any questions from the board?
My question, oh, sorry, go ahead, Alana.
My question would be what the hardship would be, should she not get this, as we are limited to front yard setbacks and there's no precedent for enclosed porches on houses on the street.
All right, Ms. Acevedo, can you please speak to what difficulty you will have if you're not granted this variance?
¿Cómo le digo? The deterioration of the front porch due to the weather.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mhm.
I did want to, get some information in front of you first as well. Shannon Leonard has her hand raised. She could clarify if I missed out anything, but I don't believe the applicant actually can get the front yard setback due to there not being another, front yard projection encroaching the setback on the street.
Okay, Ms. Leonard, did you want to chime in? I saw that your hand was raised.
Yeah, I was, Xavier clarified it. There's the closest, less restrictive setback is over 116 feet away, and so they do not qualify for the front yard setback exception. Additionally, when you enclose the front porch, if you were to do that, you could not project more than 4 feet, and I believe they're projecting 7 feet here. So since they're trying to enclose the front porch, they now are trying to have a lesser setback than along the street, and they don't qualify for the exception at this location, unfortunately.
Okay. I'll turn to you now, Councilman. Do you want to chime in?
Well, I just have a question. I'm sort of agnostic on the issue, but the setback discrepancy of 22 feet to 14 feet, she's not building out away from the current footprint of the porch, right? There's no proposal to move the porch forward. So is the setback changed because of the partial enclosure? Is that what alters the setback distance from 22 to 14? I'm just curious, like, I'm not sure. Front door stays where the front door is.
Yeah, that's right. I think so, but Ms. Leonard?
Yeah, so when you enclose the front porch, you're now enclosing the house and it's part of the house. So the setback is generally measured from the foundation. But when you enclose the porch, it is now considered interior to the house. And so the setback is then projected out closer 7 feet where they're enclosing it. So,
Okay.
yes, that's correct, Councilman.
Okay, then I only have one other question and I leave this decision to you all. For Ms. Acevedo, I was looking, I looked up your information this morning. I see that you are listed as an owner occupant at your house, but you don't claim the owner occupancy credit. And then I also found that you are doing the rental registry. So just, is the house an owner occupied house or is it a rental unit?
Is owned by me, it's occupied by me. But
And you-
uh, is a couple houses with a front porch enclosed. It's not just this house. It's I have like two rows down. Is one like I propose. It's no. I don't see any issues because I saw a couple house in this street like this. Or completely. Is half closed or completely closed the front porch?
I don't know if that.
I know what you're talking about, but I was just curious because like, I thought maybe you need the owner occupancy home, tax credit. And if you're a senior, maybe the homestead exemption, which would just help you financially, but I'm not sure if the house is owner occupied or a rental unit.
It's an own house. Yeah, I bought it.
I mean, I know you own it, but is it occupied
live in
by
it.
you
Yeah.
and you live there and it's your primary residence?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to email me later, I'm gonna try to get you the owner occupancy tax credit, save you a couple bucks on your taxes every year. Because you're not currently receiving it and it can save you some money. And if you want to email me, I can also talk to you about the homestead exemption. I don't know how old you are, but if you're over, I think 63, that might be eligible for you as well. But I know what you're talking about. There is another house a few doors down that has what she's proposing. Probably not zoned. But I remain agnostic on this issue and leave it to the board. I'm mostly here for the other one.
I do have a question for either Shannon or Xavier. What are her options if she does want to move forward or continue to try to pursue this?
Well, that's Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. The zoning code is pretty clear that the board cannot grant the front yard setback for this request. So her other option would be to put the mudroom potentially to the rear of the property in the backyard where the other entrance is. I'm not sure. She'd have to work with an architect.
And I just want to make sure that the record is clear why she's not qualified for this particular variance. I know that 32904 states 2 exceptions. Can either Mr. Bay or Ms. Leonard speak to both of those exceptions and why these conditions are not applicable?
Yeah, so the reason why those conditions are not applicable, if you go back to the parcel map, Xavier, you can see that her lot is exactly the same as every other lot. And then there is no house within 100 feet that has a less restrictive setback within 100 feet. She is correct that about 3 doors down to the west here, there is one that has a partially enclosed porch right there. And then about 3 or 4 downs to the east, there's also a partially enclosed porch, but that's beyond the 100 feet that's permitted under that code section. It's about 116 and the other one is about 160. But when you do the calculation in the triangular mathematical drawing, it doesn't fall to permit a front yard setback less than what is the current setback. All of the homes along this street are, I think, roughly at 22 to 23 feet outside of those two homes. But they are farther out than what is permitted of the 100 feet. And to speak to those could have been put in illegally, or I'm not sure, assumingly they were enclosed without coming before the city.
Understood. Thank you so much, Ms. Leonard. Mr. Bay, I know that you've given comment. Do you have any other comment on behalf of city planning that you'd like to make?
I don't have any other comments.
Okay, very good. I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we deny calendar number 24-181 based on the testimony given by Chief Zoning Administrator and City Planning.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
Thank you. Can we call the vote?
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar number 24-181 is denied to be ratified next Monday, and we will send the appellants a letter.
All right, thank you for that. We're going to now move to calendar number 25-035. This is at 5100 Pearl Road. Do we have an appellate present for this matter? Anyone from 5100 PPMS LLC?
Yeah, we're the tenant. It looks like there's a different address up on the screen, but Pearl Road, yeah.
The next one, Madam Chairman, was supposed to be 15404.
Yes, understood. We do have Councilman Harsh here. He's got one more case, so I'm just going to call that one since he's here and we're already have him up. So right now we're looking at calendar number 25-035 at 5100 Pearl Road. I'll turn it over to Ms. Holzer to read the case in.
Our next case is calendar number 25-035. This is at 5100 Pearl Road, 5100 PPMS LLC. Owner proposes to install 2 illuminated business identification wall signs on the eastern and western sides of the tower in a C3 semi-industry district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. Mr. Brentar, I see your hand up, so we'll start with you.
I do. Connor Brentar, CONNOR BRENTAR, with Old Brooklyn CDC, 4274 Pearl Road.
Thank you. And Mr. Trunley?
Yes, Glenn Trunley, GLENN, first name, second name Trunley, TRUNLEY. I do.
Thank you. And someone else is unmuted and has some background noise. Is anyone else wishing to speak in this case on the call? And in the room?
Yeah, I do. Chris Harsh, KRISHARSH, Cleveland City Council, Ward 13, 601 Lakeside.
Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that.
Hold on, I'm sorry. This is Laura from Apex Pinnacle Services. We are the sign contractor and the permit applier.
All right, thank you. Can you please state you do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address?
I do. Laura Gaidas, LAURA GAJDOS. Apex Pinnacle Services, 1750 East 55th Street, Cleveland, 44103.
Thank you. All right. Now
I think we have it now. Thank you, Ms. Roca. All right, we'll turn to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's, originally, this property was zoned general retail in 1929. In 1940, it was changed to semi-industry. There are hundreds of permits on this property. I'll just give you a brief summary. In 1949, a permit was issued to erect a brick store building. 1983 and calendar 83, a variance was granted to convert a portion of the building to a teen disco. 1987 and calendar 87-312. This board granted a variance to establish use as a massage parlor. I'm sorry, that variance was denied. I apologize. In 2009, this board granted a variance to establish a haunted house and amusement. And in 2010, in calendar 10-175, they applied for the to establish use as a haunted house, but that case was dismissed. And then in the Acela system, we do see there were permits regarding establishing an arcade, and that was in 1989. A wax museum as well in 1989. Portion of it was identified as offices for Williams Insurance in 1989 as well. 2001, a permit was issued to erect a cell tower, and in 2004, there was a permit issued to board and secure the basement first floor openings. Madam Chair, I think that's all that I have that's relevant. Kind of gives you an idea of the uses over the years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Madam Secretary. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the maximum sign face area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. I will now turn to the project team. Does Glenn or Laura want to speak first?
I'll let Laura go first, if you don't mind, Laura.
All right, very good. Laura, you have the floor.
Thank you. 5100 Pearl Road has had many usages, as everyone has just heard. We currently have put up 3 smaller wall signs on the building and are looking to include the tower, which has had usage of signage in the past, for Rise to place their icon branding on both sides of the tower, north and south, for visibility around the neighborhood. And we know it's over the square footage allowance, but we would like to see their brand up on the tower as shown in the drawing, which would really complement the green background and bring a major visibility to the corner.
Okay, and can you please speak to, if you're denied this variance today, whether that would create a practical difficulty that's not generally shared by other buildings in the same district?
I believe it would. It would give more visibility, as the signage on the building is not that large. And it is a very busy corner at Pearl and Brook Park Road. So the additional signage on the tower, which has seen many usages for the past tenants, would bring in more revenue for the business, more customers, and it keeps the corner occupied by a tenant for the neighborhood to not have a building sitting empty, worrying about other unusable nuisances.
So let me ask it differently. The zoning code permits you to have a sign that is 200 square feet, or call it 202, but you're proposing a sign that is 291. Why is it that this user cannot have a sign that is permitted by the zoning code?
We do have a sign permitted by the zoning code. We're just asking for the usage of the tower to utilize the signage for their brand icon.
And even on the tower, what is preventing the user from having a sign that complies with the zoning code on the tower?
It would be too small.
Okay. Are you done with your comment?
Yes.
All right, Glenn, do you want to chime in? Are you all good?
Yeah, I'd like to chime in a little bit if I
Okay.
may. Formerly a pretty rundown area that store location that we've done quite a lot to beautify and really upgraded the whole storefront, windows, canopies, numbers and everything else, fresh paint. And one of the things is that the tower, which is quite a sort of landmark, is really rather nice. Proportionately, to make a sign work there, we'd need to be a little bit larger than the variance allows. So in order to get proportionally correct, that's why we're requesting the variance. I think the other thing is that, you know, there's a kind of a whole mess of signs around in the neighborhood there, and we want something that differentiates us from the rest of the strip there. As you can see from the other photographs, there's kind of rampant kind of plethora of signs. So, you know, as a larger, very established company with iconic design for our logo, was designed by Turner Duckworth, famous for Coca-Cola, Amazon, McDonald's, Campbell's. We wanted to make sure that our sign gets a good placement and is in proportion and set up nicely with the rest of the building and assisting in beautifying the neighborhood as much as we possibly can.
All right, thank you for that, Glenn. I'll turn to you now, Connor. Do you have comments?
Yes, thank you. So over at Old Brooklyn CDC, we are in support of this variance. We believe this for various reasons, including, as Glenn and Laura mentioned, you know, there are many signs that are of a similar size in the surrounding area. Also, the square footage is, you know, certainly boosted by the fact that the signs are on both faces of the tower, but you know, as they also both mentioned, having the tower facing both kind of the Brook Park side of the property as well as the 480 side, we believe that it, you know, makes sense to, you know, make this signage as visible as possible, especially when there are cars driving by at relatively high speeds, and how visible this intersection is. We also, I know that it's not in the presentation today, but we did look back at some historical precedent in Street View imagery and noticed that there had previously been a sign on the tower that was significantly larger than what is being proposed here. So overall, we believe that this would not, you know, drastically alter the character of the area while, you know, keeping in line with what's already there. So thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Connor. I'll turn to you now, Councilman.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you. I'm fine with this. I'm in favor of it. I think there's a few things to contextualize what's being requested of the board that might be helpful. First off, I don't think it's terribly out of place given the oddness of this tower that has been there forever and a day. I don't know why the tower exists. I don't know when they built this building, why they thought it needed a 4-story enclosed tower. I'm actually curious, are there just stairwells inside of it just to walk you up to the roof? What's inside there, Mr. Trunley, or it's listed as Michelle on our, what's inside the tower?
Yeah, there is in fact a stairwell going up to the roof. I think it was just of the period, department stores at that time would have had the tower to carry a large sign, billboards and the like. So it's indicative of the sort of architecture of that.
And this is Laura from Apex. If you go back to the 1950s, I did submit a photo. I don't know if they were the original tenant, Federal Department Stores. And they had signage on this tower, and they also had a clock hands that you could probably see above the blue fell off a truck, where it had the hands and the numbers around. So that, like he said, like Glenn had said, there is a staircase in there to probably access because you had mechanics behind the wall plus
Yeah.
signage. But other than that, no, there was no other, I don't believe any other reason for this tower except for the signage.
Okay. Well, I would say that I think in the neighborhood, the building is most iconically remembered as Peaches. I don't know if anybody ever went to Peaches. Maybe. Okay. Peaches was a record shop. It was a huge record shop, and it was the place where most people in the area went for music. As such, there was probably, before the legalization, there was probably a fair amount of activity in the parking lot or in the area. And I think that the Rise Dispensary is actually keeping in tune with the history of the use of the building. There's actually a vinyl shop in the back, a great local business called Vinyl Groove, which moved into the neighborhood. I was there for a record store day on Saturday, and they had a line around the corner. And I have to, confess that the what's the word? Simpatico. The businesses are somewhat will probably feed off of each other. And there's actually an arcade coming back into the building. I think the owner is looking at, if you're familiar with 16-bit or the other one in Ohio City, this notion of sort of like adult-oriented arcades is coming back, and I think that the owner of the building is bringing that back. To me, it all kind of gels and works together, and it's good to see this revised because, as you may know, behind us in this photo is a new gas station that I've sort of made some comments about how it's sort of disrupting the neighborhood. But I think the answer to the disruption from that is the economic revitalization of this strip mall, right? The police were there on Sunday clearing out 200 people. The owner of the building is talking about putting down speed bumps into the parking lot to prevent its auto shows, car culture, kids doing burnouts, donuts, and all that stuff. Extremely loud, extremely disruptive. But the economic activity created by a company like Rise coming in here, the record shop opening, more people utilizing that for legitimate development purposes is going to lead the owner of this to invest more into the property itself and therefore the maintenance of the property. I did have a chance to talk with the owners of Rise or the people representing them about putting security cameras on the outside of the building facing outward into the parking lot. At the time that we had the conversation, they were okay with that. And I would like to clarify that with the board here present today because outward facing cameras would help us a lot with our security needs at that location. So through the chair lady, could I ask the owners if that is still a plan to put security cameras facing outward from the building?
Yes, indeed it is.
Okay, so not only does this sort of like maintain the culture of that area and it's all vibing with the history of the area, it's also in addition to the security of the area. I would say that in my head, I thought they were actually going for a larger sign when I closed my eyes and imagined what they wanted to put up. But I would say that I think it's very tasteful. I think the lack of lettering is a big bonus. It's just sort of a pretty picture. You might need to know what it is to know what it is. Otherwise, if you don't know what it is, it just kind of looks like a nice little like bird feather thing. And so I don't find it to be like, it's not bombastic, it's not overwhelming, it's not bright neon flashing, distracting. It's there if you know what it is, you know what it is. And I actually find it rather tasteful. I think they did a good job with their branding, and I think it looks nicer than it did before.
Okay.
So with all that said, those are just the reasons that I'm in favor of this. I think it all makes sense. It's an odd tower structure, but I don't think the signage is out of place on it.
Okay, thank you so much for that context. That is always helpful for us to understand. Any comments from city planning?
The only comments I have, we're in alignment with the councilman's decision here. And just taking into context the previous use of the tower for signage.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I have rather a comment, not to date myself, but I can remember this particular facility back in the days when it was a dance club. So
Okay.
so it has a history and a lot of activity in the parking lot. So architecturally, I would concur that the tower was probably consistent with the original use as sort of a monument to the store that was in there. I would agree with Councilman Harsh that the simplicity of the ampersand on the tower eliminates some of the visual clutter in the area, and it's the scale is, it's simple, it's clean, and it's just an ampersand. And so it again cleans up some of the visual clutter in the area. So if there's no further comment, I would move to approve.
Okay, well, we have a motion. Were there any other questions before we go to motion?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to hear from city planning.
Oh, okay. We did hear from city planning. Reiterate, if you will.
Yeah, thanks, through the chair to Ms. Roca. Yeah, we just, align with the councilman's comments here on this, on the signage proposal, and is taken into consideration as well. I believe we received this on the screen here from the applicant, the historical signage. And so just, keeping in context with what was already there in the past.
Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I second.
All right, so we have a motion from Ms. Faith. We have a second from Ms. Roca. Can we call the vote, please?
Sure. Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-035 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send the appellant a letter, but you can also contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Thank
All right, you guys are welcome. Have a good day. All right, we're now going to call calendar number 25-014. This is at 15404 Kinsman Road. Do we have an appellant present for this matter? Is anyone present for Elegant Properties LLC? I'm going to ask one more time. Is there anyone present from Elegant Properties LLC? All right, hearing none.
If they're on the call, if they're on the phone, could they please push *6?
If you're on the phone, please press *6 so that we can hear you. Looks like we do not have appellant present for calendar number 25-014. We're going to place a phone call or an email to them and see if we can get them online. Meanwhile, we're going to call calendar number 25-016. And this is at 8318 Lorraine Avenue. Is there appellant present for this matter?
Present.
Perfect. Thank you for that. All right, Ms. Holzer, I'll turn it over to you to read the case in.
Our next case is calendar number 25-0016 at 8318 Lorraine Avenue. This is an appeal of a building and housing violation notice. I'm just going to spell it out. FOUAD Inc. owner appeals under the authority of section 76-6 of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from the notice of violation number V24034-131 issued by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing for failure to comply with section 345.04C and 347.06 of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances regarding establishing use as a wrecking yard and or storage of motor vehicles. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Nicole Stevens, NICOLESTEVENS. Do you want my personal address?
Your business address was fine.
For 8300 Lorraine Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44102.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call who would like to speak in this matter? Is there anyone else in the room? All right, hearing none, back to you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roca. We'll go to legal, please.
All right, Madam Chair, members of the board. I was waiting for it to come up on the screen, but okay, for both. Appellant is appealing a violation notice issued by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing. The standard of review is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by the preponderance of substantial, reliable, and probative evidence. If the appellant fails to meet this burden, the administrative decision must be affirmed.
All right, thank you for that. I think we are just realizing that we have two calendar numbers for the same appellant. So Ms. Holzer, if you could read in the second one for us, please.
Sure thing. Sorry for missing that. Additionally, we have B's calendar number 25-0017. This is at 8300 Lorraine Avenue, parcel 006-01-062. Again, this is a building and housing violation notice appeal. FOUAD Inc. owner appeals under the authority of Section 76-6 of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and Section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from the notice of violation number V24034144 issued by the Department of Building and Housing for failure to comply with Section 345.04C and 347.06 of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances regarding establishing use as a wrecking yard and/or storage of motor vehicles.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Holzer. So we've already had the legal read in for both cases, so I will now turn to the appellant. Can you please give us some details around your appeal?
Yes, so from what I understand, the inspector is saying that we need to put up a masonry fence and establish that it's a wrecking yard. However, we have permits that I did submit via email to you and plans that were approved by the city of Cleveland that we've been in business for the last 30 years as a retail used car lot, and we are allowed to also store our cars there for to be fixed as well.
All right, Ms. Leonard, can you please chime in?
Tom Vanover is walking back to there he is.
Okay.
To speak
Okay.
on these violation notices, but they are zoning code violation notices.
Okay.
And to clarify,
Did
Tom
you
Vanover is the chief building
receive
official.
the emails I sent with all our documentation of the approved layout, approved fencing?
Yes,
And-
confirming we did receive that.
Okay, thank you.
Shannon, I think you were saying something. Did you have additional comments? Because I didn't hear what you said.
I apologize. Tom Vanover is the chief building official for the city of Cleveland.
Oh, got it. Okay, thank you for that. Are you, okay, please come forward. We're gonna swear you in, and I'll let Ms. Roca do that.
Want to turn on your mic as well?
I know it's so far.
Thank you. Swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Please state your name, spell your name, and address.
I do. Thomas Vanover, V as in Victor, Anover, 601 Lakeside Avenue, East Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you.
All right, you have the floor.
So this is an appeal in response to a notice of violation. This facility is, we issued a notice of violation for 8318 Lorraine Road. And the photographs included, they were cited specifically for not having proper fencing for a wrecking yard, vehicle wrecking yard. It appears that the appellant has stated that it is a used car lot and they do have a car sales license. Their certificate of occupancy is for sales and for repairs. However, the condition of the lot, there are several vehicles that are in various stages of disrepair, dismantled, not properly plated, or and it's a junkyard. It looks like a junkyard and needs to be screened accordingly. And what is not cited here is the fact that it's supposed to be a car lot being used as a wrecking yard.
Okay. Can we have the appellant speak to the use of the property? It appears as though it's being used as a junkyard. Can you speak to that, please?
it's not being used as a junkyard. And if you could see by the pictures, we did remove any vehicles that are beyond repair since receiving the violation. And we do not need to have license plates on our vehicles because it's a used car lot that we have the permits for.
You got a permit for it?
All right. Ms. Leonard, can you please chime in and help us to understand, or we can have you chime in, sort of. She states that she has permits and that she's using it not as a junkyard. So how do we violate her for using it as a junkyard if that's not her use?
So yeah, I can speak to that. I believe what her testimony was is that she has since removed the vehicles that were in disrepair and dismantled. So at the time of the violation notice, we violated her because it was being used as a junkyard. There were multiple vehicles that were in various stages of disrepair, couldn't run, couldn't be moved, and were not actually in a position for sale vehicles. So that being said, it appears as if there's no need for a variance if they've actually complied with the notice of violation, although this was, the appeal was filed way after the appeal period. We would ask that you uphold the notice, and if their testimony is that they have since complied, then you can remand it to the Department of Building and Housing. We can verify that that is actually the case. They are properly using the property, but there's no grounds for a variance because they mitigated the violations. The violations existed at the time that they were issued.
Okay, that is understood. I can see that Shannon has her hand raised. Do you want to chime in as well?
Yeah, so I will clarify that the images that you see on the screen were taken probably a week or 2 weeks ago. So at the time that they were cited for the violation, if they have since removed whatever the issue was, then they, like Tom said, I believe that the enforcement officer was right in writing the violation. However, they do want to use it as the junkyard as they were cited for when the violation notice was issued. They would need to come back before this board and establish use as a junking yard and provide for, one, they would need a variance because that's first permitted in general industry district, and two, they would need the fence, as Tom stated, covering what is being proposed here. So both of those would require variance if they were not doing them.
Okay, thank you for that, Ms. Leonard. Tom, can you clarify the date of the violation for both of these, please?
The notice of violation was issued December 10th, 2024.
Okay, and to the appellant, on December 10th, is there any dispute that you did have inoperable cars on the lot?
I don't think that that is relevant since we have the.
Hold on one
we have
second.
the permit.
Wait a minute. I want to make sure that you hear the call of my question. Can you let me know if there's any dispute as to whether there were any junked cars on the lot on December 10th, 2024?
We do not junk our cars.
Okay, were
We're
there
not
any?
in the business of cutting up cars for junk and scrapping cars. That's not what we do. So no.
Okay, were there any cars that are inoperable on the yard as of December 10th, 2024?
Yes, and we have a permit to have that as well.
Was the answer to that question a yes or was it a no?
Yes, and we
Yes,
are
okay.
permitted to have that as well.
Okay, any questions from the board? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, based on the testimony that we've heard today, I move that we.
I'm sorry, before we move
Hold on, appellant. You cannot speak out of turn, ma'am.
Okay, I have my hand raised.
Ms. Faith, you were saying?
Based on the testimony we've heard today, that I move that we uphold the violations and let them proceed as Building and Housing suggested, so that they have remediated the situation, but let's get another inspection and make sure that it is compliant.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Faith. Is there a second to that motion?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar numbers 25-016 and 25-017 are denied. This will be ratified next Monday. We will send the appellants a letter.
I just have a question. I'm not even sure what happened though.
Okay, so
But I'm sorry, may I speak?
go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So we didn't ask for a variance. So I just don't understand. So we're just
So let me
now
explain.
getting a fine
So
for
we-
that? And what exactly pertains to your definition of a junk vehicle that I'm not allowed to have in here? Because in my understanding, we're allowed to do everything. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I just want to know what your standards are so I can comply because we've been doing the same thing for 30 years.
Okay, so we haven't issued a variance. What we've done was heard your appeal on the violation notice, and we have
Right.
upheld the city's issuance of that violation notice. So you have to comply with the violation notice, which it sounds like you have. At this point, it will be kicked back to the inspectors, and I can have Tom explain that part of the process.
Never seen any inspector.
Tom, you turn your mic on.
Yes, so that will, based on the testimony, we will re-inspect and verify that the conditions present at the time of the inspection in December are no longer present, and that the property is being used as allowed in its current certificate of occupancy. And just for a point of clarification, there are multiple permits that are issued by multiple agencies to do different things, but the certificate of occupancy determines what the legal use of the property is. So having a permit by a separate agency to do a thing doesn't necessarily mean that it's permissible under the certificate of occupancy or the zoning code. So we will re-inspect to identify that this is being, one, used as a used car lot, and therefore does not require the 7-foot fence that was inspected or was cited under this violation notice. Thank you.
Would we be able
And
to set a
hold on, appellant, hold on one second. Chief Leonard, I can see that you made a comment in the WebEx portal. Can you explain what you just stated?
Yes, I believe that Tom stated that the occupancy permit was for used car sales. Used car sales
parking
is
permit too.
permitted. However, when you start parking or what we would call storing of inoperable vehicles or wrecked vehicles, you're no longer considered using your property as just a used car sales lot. And so that's what is not permitted, and that's what you are cited for.
Right,
But
and
that
we also
doesn't mean
have a
that you
parking
Hold on,
permit.
please do not interrupt her. She's not done.
But that does
Sorry.
not mean that you can't, if you were to establish use to store wrecked vehicles at this location. So if you want to store wrecked vehicles at this location or want to store salvaged parts or things of that nature, you would essentially just need to submit for a new use permit, which would then lead to the process we would adjudicate for that. And then go forward from there. You would probably end up back at the board. You would end up back at the Board of Zoning Appeals for that use because that use is not permitted at this location.
So our parking permit doesn't matter, that we have a parking permit to park cars.
I am unsure where you got a parking permit to park wrecked vehicles from.
They were wrecked when
They weren't wrecked when they were parked there. They've just been sitting there and we've been dealing with vandalism.
and no, we never seen an inspector there.
Here's what I'll do.
And they
I'm
want to
gonna-
buy the one.
I have to move my docket forward. So Ms. Stevens, I'm going to ask that you contact the city directly. You can speak to Chief Leonard or you can speak to the Inspector of Building and Housing and you can get clarity to your questions.
Yes. Can you please just give me a contact because I've been desperately trying to reach someone to work this out and make a meeting with someone. I want to be compliant. I just need somebody to help me and I've even gone down in person and they just tell me to send emails and I haven't been able to get a hold of whoever is in charge of this. I would love to meet with the inspector, but I don't get any replies back.
Okay, we're
And
going to
I've
give you contact
called-
information right now. Can you chime in,
Thank
Tom,
you.
and give her some contact information?
I will send the inspector's details to Ms. Kukla to communicate that back.
Okay, perfect. You'll receive an email from our secretary.
And is that gonna be the same ones that I've been emailing and calling and leaving voicemails with no response?
I'm not sure, ma'am, but we'll send you contact information. If you need to come down to the city hall in person, you can do that as well. But we've got to move this docket forward. So I'm going to call the next case.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, I'm going to call the property located at 12210 Lorraine Avenue. Do we have an appellant present? Did I skip one? Yeah. They're here now. Okay. But do we have councilman? I don't know. I think he left. I guess we could just call it anyways. Let's see. We're now going to go back and recall calendar number 25-014. This is at 15404 Kinsman Road. Do we have the appellant present now? Is there someone here for Elegant Properties LLC?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and read the case and I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Holzer.
Our next case is calendar number 25-014. This is at 15404 Kinsman Road. It is another building and housing violation notice appeal. Elegant Properties LLC owner appeals under the authority of Section 76-6 of the Charter of the City of Cleveland and Section 329.02D of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances from notice of violation number V240333933 issued by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing for failure to comply with Section 347.08A of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances regarding installing opaque fencing around trash containers. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. Mr. Speed, we'll start with you.
My name is Wayne Speed. I'm with Elegant Properties. The address, the building, or my address?
The address to your business address is fine.
1540 Kinsman.
And did you, do you swear?
I swear, yes, yes.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call who would like to speak in this case?
No.
Anyone else in the room? Hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Roca. We'll now go to the legal standard, please.
I think it's coming. Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is appealing a violation notice issued by the Cleveland Department of Building and Housing. The standard of review is whether the administrative decision was illegal, arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, or unsupported by the preponderance of substantial, reliable, and probative evidence. If the appellant fails to meet this burden, the administrative decision must be affirmed.
Okay, thank you for that. I will now turn to you, Mr. Speed. Can you talk to us about why you made this appeal?
I made the appeal because our building lacks space for the what they're asking me to do, and we're in the process of trying to deal with the city of Shaker, trying to get the space that we need to do what y'all want us to do.
Okay.
Madam Chair, can we just clarify with the appellant what exactly he's being asked to do?
Hold on. Shannon, did you raise your hand? Please chime in.
Yeah, so this appeal is before us today. The applicant had a waste waste container unenclosed in the tree lawn here along East 154th Street. And as you can see, his parcel is contained specifically to the building, the multifamily building that is at this location. And so Building and Housing did issue him a violation because the trash container was in the tree lawn. And when he came into the Building and Housing Department, we told him to speak with Community Development. The lot immediately to the left, to the north, is owned by the City of Cleveland's Land Bank. And so to work with the Community Development Department to either acquire that lot or B, to work with them to get an easement to place a trash receptacle in the back there. But at the time that this violation notice was issued, the waste dumpster was located in the tree lawn along East 154th Street.
Thank you
But
so
it-
much for that, Ms. Leonard. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just stating it is a multifamily building, so he does need a dumpster. At this point, though, he is limited as to where he can place that.
Okay. Mr. Speed, is there any dispute that you had a trash container on the front lawn?
Yes, well, it was a trash container on the front lawn, but you need equipment to move that trash container there. And I would like, so when it was a whole situation that was out of my, I didn't place the trash container there. It was the people who owned the dumpster, and it was a tenant, or not even a tenant. It was a guest or whatever. Somebody parked there in the middle of him doing the dumpster, so he had no other place to put it. But I didn't put it there. And then, as of the result of this, we got this fine, so I went to go tell them that we need to build this enclosure, but we don't have enough space to the north. And so I went to the land bank, and they said it was a not city-owned land bank, a county-owned land bank. So I went to the county-owned land bank, and the county's directed me to the city of Shaker, because they said the city of Shaker was but the city of Shaker owns that back part of the property or whatever. So we was in the process of getting in contact to see if they can give us this easement so we can at least build the place to contain to put the enclosure around the dumpster, because right now, since all this development been going on in this area, we have it's like, and the building is now open, that we don't have no area to put the dumpster now.
Okay. Is there any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, I have a question, and perhaps Ms. Leonard can clarify this. In the Google Maps view, there is a dumpster on what appears to be a portion of a driveway to the rear of the building, set back from the curb cut. Is that curb cut and that partial drive part of that parcel, or is that part of the parcel of the vacant lot adjoining? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe that only a portion, a very small, maybe 2 or 3 feet, is available in the rear of that building that would be part of his parcel. The remainder of it is the land bank parcel to the north. So he could either work with the parcel to the north or the parcel to the east for either an easement or land swap of some sort.
Okay.
Because he does need a trash enclosure for the tenants of this building.
Yeah, agree with that. Yeah, I just in the view that I saw, the dumpster was not on the tree lawn, but was on that, as I said, that portion of driveway. But if that isn't technically his parcel, then he's without a place to put it. So thank you.
I know which image you're talking about,
Yeah.
but that still doesn't he still needs an enclosure around it.
Yep, agree.
So, Madam Chair, I just have a question or a comment. So it sounds like there isn't a dispute between the city or the appellant that the trash can is in the wrong place and it's in violation of the code. The appellant is trying to remedy the situation. If we uphold the city's violation notice today, does Mr. Speed have to pay a fine? What is the ramification to Mr. Speed if we uphold the city's decision?
I do not have the violation order in front of me, so I'm not sure if there's a fine associated, and perhaps Mary may have some better information regarding that.
I don't either, but maybe the appellant does.
Mr. Speed, are you being assessed a fine?
No, there was no fine associated with this. It was just a notification to get it corrected, and I'm in the process of getting it corrected. It's just I didn't know no, ignorance is not whatever, but I didn't have an understanding of how this whole process works, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to get this thing rectified quickly.
All right, so my next question is for Ms. Leonard. So again, if we uphold the city's, there's no dispute here. Both parties agree that there's a violation that's happening, and Mr. Speed is trying to remedy that. What can we do to help him remedy the situation?
I think that the appellant could submit an application to enclose the dumpster just to get that going so that he won't get hit with another violation notice in the meantime. But he does really need to speak to the property owners to the north and to the east sooner rather than later on how to go about providing the dumpster. Otherwise, until then, they'll need to remove the dumpster and find another way to handle trash within the building for his tenants.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leonard. So can we postpone this then and allow him that time to do what he needs to do with the city to remedy the violation? I think we can, correct?
So I think the problem of postponing is not going to solve the issue because he was still in non-compliance on the date the violation notice was issued. There's still evidence that he was not in compliance. So if we do uphold the decision and he later becomes in compliance, I think that will help him not get another violation. But this moment in time, we're only looking at the date of the violation, and he himself doesn't dispute that there was a violation at that time. So I guess to your point, you know, if we make a decision, there's no fine from what I'm understanding. Is that been verified? Okay, so there's no fine. He would just be found in violation, which he is, but he would still have to figure out a way to fix this. Mr. Speed, I can see that your hand is raised. Do you have comments?
I'm trying to, like, whatever y'all need us to do, whatever I need to do, I'm trying, because because at first we had garbage cans, then they told me we couldn't put the garbage cans there, then they said I had to get a dumpster, and then they told me I couldn't put the dumpster there. So now it's like, I'm just like, what I need to do, I'm willing to do. I work every day, so whatever I need to do, I would just do. But I don't know, like, I'm having a hard time getting in compliance. I just need, like, I hate to ask for help, but I just need to, because the people at the Cleveland part did tell me where to go. It's the people at the Shaker part of it. But they saying that they don't own a lot, but the land bank telling me that they selling a lot, and I'm like stuck. So I don't want to sit here and like I'm just ignoring whatever, because it's a lot across the street. I don't know if I can get the lot across the street. I will put it across the street. Whatever I need to do whatever, I'm willing to do.
So, Madam Chair, I understand your position, but if we uphold the violation, he's going to get another violation. He's going to be here again because he hasn't remedied the issue. So I guess what I'm saying is if we postpone it and try to give him some time, then he's not going to get re-cited.
Okay, Ms. Leonard, can you chime in there?
Yeah, so he's already been recited. There's 2 complaints in the system as of April 11th. So the best thing that he should do is, if you uphold the violation, to go ahead and submit a permit, a commercial building permit to the Department of Building and Housing and he can just put to rectify violations. And that will give him some hold time to work with the neighboring property owners to come up with a solution, or to work with another company or an attorney to figure out where he can, how he can deal with trash. There's also the Public Sanitation Department. Maybe there's another option besides having an unsecured dumpster on different areas of this non-lot, if you will, or in the street. So he needs to get an application into the Department of Building and Housing immediately to state that he's trying to rectify the violations.
Okay, that is super helpful. Thank you for that, Ms. Leonard. Mr. Speed, do you understand your marching orders there?
Yes, and I'm thankful.
Okay, very
Madam
good.
Chair,
Yes, Ms. Faith, are you going to? Make a motion?
I am. I think the course of action here is to uphold the violation. We have no documentation that there is a fine, so I think we need to include some language that we would waive the fine should there be one, should it present itself, so that he's not fined for this situation, and that the condition of this is that he follows the directive Ms. Leonard just delineated, so that he moves forward on rectifying this. And let's give him the name of a contact person, a city planner, perhaps, so that he has a point of contact to help maybe walk him through some of the different departments he's going to need to interface with to get this rectified. And with that, I move that we uphold the violation notice.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Board Member Roca, I second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Mr. Marcus?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Faith? Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-014 is denied. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send the appellant a letter.
All right, thank you for that. All right, Mr. Speed, we have denied your appeal. You will go to the Department of Building and Housing to put a application in for a permit to rectify the violation and get that process started so that you're not cited again as soon as you can.
Okay, I guess CMHA today, but I can get down there tomorrow.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. Best of luck to you.
Who do I talk to?
You're going to go to the Department of Building and Housing. Is that right, Ms. Leonard?
That's correct. And he can also reach out to Xavier. His email is xbay@clevelandohio.gov if he has any follow-up immediate questions.
All right, you got that, Mr. Speed?
Is that Bay with an E or Bay with a A?
It's A. It's going to be B as in boy, A as in apple, Y as in yellow at clevelandohio.gov.
Thank you.
If we have, and if we have your email on file, I'll follow up with you.
Okay,
Perfect.
My email should be on file. Thank you.
All right, have a good day, Mr. Speed. We're going to now call the next case. And we've been jumping all around, so let's just make sure I have the proper
I think it's
next case. And I'm
036.
looking at 12210 Lorraine. Do we have an appellant present for that matter?
Yes.
All right, very good. I'll turn it over to Ms. Holzer to read in the case.
Our next case is calendar number 25-036. This is at 12210 Lorraine Avenue. Tia Williams, owner, proposes to establish use as a bar and install 170 linear feet of 8-foot high corrugated iron fencing in a C2 local retail business district and pedestrian retail overlay district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
I'm swearing in all who oppose the case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. Ms. Williams, we'll start with you.
Yes. Tia Williams, 12210 Lorraine Avenue. I do. And
Thank you.
WILI.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call? Mr. Raymond?
Austin Raymond, Jefferson Puritas, West Park, CDC, RAYMOND, 14703 Puritas Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio, 44135.
Thank you. Anyone else on the call? Anyone in the room for this case? No? Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Ms. Roca. Can we have history of the property, please?
Sure. This property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2007, it was changed to local retail business district and placed in the pedestrian retail overlay district. In our records administration office, we found that a permit was issued in 1948 to erect a store building. 1954 and 1962, 1967 and 1975, there were permits issued to erect signage on the building. In the more recent history, we found that in 2021, food service licenses were issued starting in 2005 to I believe, current. There is one variance, there are two variances on file in calendar 23-84, and that was in 2023. This board granted a variance to install 100 linear feet of 8-foot-high chain link fence in the actual side yard and rear yard. And we also approved a variance in calendar 24-098 to establish use as a bar in the local retail business district and pedestrian retail overlay, contrary to the code section regarding the opacity of the windows, stating the code section 343.23, which states that non-residential buildings or storefronts in the pedestrian retail overlay not less than 60% of the front facade building between 2 and 1.5 foot and 7 and 1.5 feet in height shall be composed of transparent windows or doors. In addition, not more than 25% of the such windows or door area on a building or storefront shall be covered with permanent signs. This board granted the variance with a condition that the paint will be removed from the arch windows and door, and pending documentation indicating that the paint has been removed from those. And we did receive that last December. And Madam Chair, that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you.
Okay, you said there was a variance on file that would permit the fences. Is that correct, or did I
This is
mishear that?
A chain link fence. I believe the fencing that they're requiring now or proposing now is solid corrugated iron. They were approved a chain link fence in 2023 in the side yard and rear yard.
Okay, so there was a fence approved to be chain link.
Right.
Was there like a height restriction?
No, they got the 8 feet. Yep, 8 feet was approved.
8 feet, okay.
So they're here today only because of they're changing the materiality of the fence?
Madam Chair, there is a new variance that is cited here regarding parking. So the
Mhm.
appellant or the city would have to speak to that.
So I guess my concern is the second one, because there's a variance request for a fence, but it seems like there's already been a variance issued for a fence.
And again, it is a different type of fence, but yes, the height was addressed at
approved,
that time,
okay.
yes.
Ms. Leonard, Mr. Bay, can either of you chime in as to the duplicativeness of this fence issue?
When you tear down one fence, a non-conforming fence, if it's replaced, it no longer becomes conforming. Therefore, they need a variance for any subsequent fencing. So I hope that makes sense. That was
It
a very-
does.
yeah.
It does. Makes
Okay.
perfect sense. Thank you so much, Chief Leonard. All right, can we have the legal standard, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the parking and fencing requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you for that. Ms. Williams, I will turn to you to give comment. Can you tell us about your project, please?
Hi, so I'm basically here. We have already got a permit for the fence. The permit had expired. We did nothing else
Hold
to
on,
the fence.
hold on one second. You're kind of breaking up and I really didn't hear what you just said. Can you say it again?
I'm sorry. So I'm only here because we had already had a permit already for the fence. The permit had expired and we had to come back and go through the whole thing again. We didn't ever do anything else with the fence. It's the same fence. We just had the permit had expired.
So you're not erecting a new fence at this point?
No, it's the same fence. We're not doing anything else with that fence. It's the same fence. When we went to get the building occupancy, he said that we needed a permit. Got the permit for the fence. So we went downtown and we had the permit, but the permit had expired. That's all.
Okay, so you still have the same chain?
Same. Is the same exact fence.
All right, Ms. Leonard, help me out. So it looks like a variance has already been issued. She's stating that she did not tear the fence down
No,
but we're here
we-
for the same variance that has been issued. So I want to reconcile that.
I think it's based on how, as you can see on the site plan here, it shows that they wanted a corrugated iron fence. And so if you go back to the imagery of the site, I believe they were using it as a gate where the drive is. And therefore, that's why they were written up. So there you go. You see that there. And so that's why they were written up for the fence based on the site plan review. And sometimes, unfortunately, when site plans are done by hand, they can be confusing, but we have to go off of what is submitted.
Okay, I'm still a bit confused. So what's on the site plan that would have given issue?
We'll go back to the site plan. So somewhere in here, I haven't looked at the site plan, but somewhere in here, it's probably showing you that it wanted 170 linear feet of fencing. So, I mean, I guess the question is the applicant is stating that you're not installing any type of fence, then they wouldn't need the variance. But I believe when the plans examiner reviewed this, it was their understanding that they were establishing the use and installing 170 feet of 8-foot high corrugated iron fencing, which needs a variance, even if it's there was a previous variance for chain link fence. If they're not taking away the chain link fence and they're not installing the 170 linear feet of 8-foot high corrugated iron fence, they don't need the variance. But I believe on the imagery, there is 8-foot high corrugated iron fencing. So it's really a matter of whether is that what, do they need the variance or do they not? And, they should get compliant while they're here if they need to.
And Madam Chair, the description in the calendar number 23-084 stated 100 linear feet. So we are talking about a little bit more.
Ms. Williams, are you installing 170 linear feet of fencing?
Oh, it's the same. It's the same as the approved for. It's the same length and everything.
Okay, so there's no change in the fence.
No, we didn't do no change. That's the thing. It was just expired. The permit was expired. I didn't know that they would expire. I didn't know how long they expire or that they expire after a certain period of time. And when we
So, I mean,
Hmm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so when we called down there, he said the permit had been down there and it had expired. So that's why we went back through this again. We didn't do any changes because we would have been came back like, okay, we need another permit for this or not.
Okay, so it seems to me that maybe Ms. Leonard, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, wouldn't she just need to apply for a new permit as opposed to getting a variance if she's not erecting a fence? Go ahead, Ms. Leonard. I can see your hand is raised.
Yeah, so this went through landmarks as well, right? So I'm assuming she came to establish the occupancy of this lounge as a bar, restaurant. And when the applicant put in the application, either she or whoever submitted the application put in bar and fence. And so it did go through landmarks. It was approved through landmarks. And that's what is on the application that I'm looking at here. It says bronze frame, and it's showing the fence length. So, I don't know if the lady that is speaking today, is she the one that submitted the application and went through landmarks, or was it a contractor by chance? And it states on here that it's installing those items on the full application.
Okay. So basically, the way the application was written is triggering this. Can you tell us about the parking arrangements that you have, Ms. Williams?
We just gonna have to use street parking because
Oh, this connection is so bad.
really no parking. Yeah.
Hold on, you just cut out So we didn't hear what
I'm
you
sorry.
said.
I'm sorry. I said basically it's just gonna be street parking.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. This is in the TOD zone, and so depending on the time that the applicant had submitted their application, they may not require the need for off-street parking because they're located in a TOD zone, which removes the parking minimums.
So that means there wouldn't be a 12 parking requirement.
Correct. Correct.
The
So it
application
seems
was
like we
submitted
don't need
before.
either one of these variances. Wait, I'm sorry, Ms. Leonard, say that again?
When this application came in, it was submitted before the TOD ordinance passed, but as
Okay.
of today, they do not need the parking. But based on the application date was when this letter was adjudicated.
Okay, so we have a parking variance before us that is no longer needed at this time. It seems to me that the fence variance is also not needed. I mean, any other questions from the board?
Mr. Raymond is, I think, wishing to speak as well.
Mr. Raymond, you want to chime in?
Yes. So I did do Google Street View, 8 August of 2024. The fence was there as built. I also went through Excella and saw that there was a permit pulled with materials. Again, this building is landlocked, so there is no way of having parking there. So unfortunately, the building is built to the property line. Yeah, so I did talk to councilman and we are okay with it.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Raymond. So back to the original issue of the fence. Should she just come and apply for another permit since the other one's expired? Or does the board need to consider this variance today? Seems to me that it's not needed, but please chime in.
Yes, so she does, if you guys decide that, so we issued the letter of nonconformance at the time prior to the TOD being instituted. So if you were
Okay.
to rule to say that, we approve the variance because at this time TOD is now implemented. And then if she wants to withdraw the fence, number one, you could do it that way. And then that way she would just move along and her occupancy for a bar would move forward.
Okay, so it sounds like we're
withdraw one.
withdrawing both.
No, you would need to vote on number 2, the parking variance, because it was written at the time that the application came in, and that's
Right.
what we have to do.
Okay, so we would decide on number 1 then, because number 1 is the parking.
Yes, sorry to be confusing.
Yes. Okay, I wanted to make sure I understood you properly. All right, any questions from the board based on that?
No, I think we've got it clarified, Madam Chair. So, as to the parking, I move that we approve since, as Ms. Leonard explained, it's now in the TOD, as did Mr. Bay. And as long as there is no intent to change the fencing, as the site plans indicate that were submitted, that becomes a moot point. And so the appellant can withdraw from on that point.
All right, so we have a motion to approve the first variance. Madam Secretary?
Well, Madam Chair, not to split hairs or anything, but the previous variance did only allow 100 linear feet of the fencing. So I don't know if, would it hurt for us to just grant the variance just to be safe, to make sure that she's completely
allow the
covered, that there's no
170.
issues in the future?
Okay. Yep. Chief Leonard, I can see that your hand is raised. Please chime in.
Yeah, I want to clarify. So the chain link fence in the front that you see, I don't believe is on her property, but the corrugated metal fencing that you see here is 8 feet tall. And so an 8 feet tall fence is not permitted in an interior side yard. So they still need the variance here. I think it'd be best for you all to go ahead and vote on this variance as well.
Okay.
I think that would be the best.
Okay, thank you for that. Ms. Faith, you want to modify
Yep.
your motion?
Yep, given that input, I move that we go ahead and approve the fence. And we've already discussed the parking, so we'll add that 170 feet of linear fence in there
All right.
Frankly, I don't think we have any issues if she puts up corrugated fence in the back anyway, so.
All right, is there
Sorry.
a second? Oh, that's okay. Is there a second?
Board Member Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Sure. Ms. Roca? Yes. Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-036 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday, and we will send the appellant a letter. She can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction as well.
All right, you are all good to go, Ms. Williams. Your variances have been granted. We're going to move now to calendar number 25-037. Is there an appellant present for 1280 West 67th Street? Anyone in the room present for this case?
No.
Oh. Did someone
Hi,
check?
this is Brandon Young from Young Design Studio.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ms. Holzer. We'll turn to you to have you read this case in.
Our next case is calendar number 25-037. This is at 1280 West 67th Street. Allison and Alex Jones, owners, propose to erect a vulcanized wooden deck and exterior stairs and pergola attached to an existing detached garage.
I got it. Thank you. From the zone.
In the B12 family residential district. The owners appeal for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland codified ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there is one. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do. State your name, spell your name, and provide your address. Mr. Young.
I do. Brandon Young, that's BRANDON My address is 15614 Detroit Avenue in Lakewood, 44107.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the call who wishes to speak in this matter? Is there anyone in the room? Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that. We'll go to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that a dwelling addition was made to the property in 1906. A coal shed was erected in 1909. There was alterations made to the dwelling by addition, a two-story addition in 1910. And then there are no variances on file. And then in the more recent history, we see that a permit was issued in 2017 to erect a garage. There was a certificate of disclosure issued for the property stating it as single family in 2020, and a permit was issued in 2022 to install a fence. That's all that I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting an area variance from the rear yard encroachment requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you. I will now turn to you, Mr. Brandon Young. I first want to confirm that you have authorization to speak on behalf of the owners, Alex and Allison Jones.
Yes, I do.
All right, perfect. You want to tell us about the project?
Yeah, so the project is we're building a roof deck, patio space above the existing detached garage. So you can see the renderings there. There's going to be a pergola and just some additional outdoor, entertainment space for them. The variance is for the stair, so it's along the property line in the rear of the garage. We did explore putting the stair on the side of the garage, but it just ate into too much of the limited open space they have. So you can see in the rendering there, that green space, it's only about 27 by 14. So adding a stair there would just really limit them, the space for their backyard, and they have kids, and they were wanting to explore, locating that stair in the back elevation, kind of out of the way of the open space. They also wanted to note that their rear the property to the rear of their yard, there is an existing fence that's approximately 5 feet from theirs. So there is kind of a separation between the existing, where the stair would go and the existing fence and the neighbor's fence. So yeah, the project is essentially just adding a stair to the existing garage and doing kind of a new flat patio deck on top of the garage.
Okay. I can see several hands raised. I'm not sure if those are old hands. Ms. Faith, did you have comment or question?
You covered it. I just wanted to make sure that we had the notarized letter allowing him to speak on their behalf. And other than that, I have no questions. It's a nice project. If there's no comments, I'll make a motion.
Madam Chair, I
Okay.
just have one question for Mr. Young. So there's an existing garage. Are you replacing that garage or are you just building on top of it?
No, yeah, we're just building on top of it. I mean, we will put in new floor framing because right now it's sloped, but we're keeping the exterior walls and footprint the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
I did have a question, if there was any communication with the neighbor to the rear. I'd imagine if they wanted to do something similar to their garage, there might be a little conflict.
All right, Mr. Young, can you speak to that?
I believe that the homeowners did speak to both the side yard and rear neighbors, and there was no opposition.
Okay.
But-
Perfect. All right. Is there a position from city planning on this?
Yeah, I mean, I did deal with the contractor, I believe, who's speaking now, about the potential to, rearrange the stair onto a different side of the garage, to allow more space for the rear. As he stated, the property owner isn't interested in it because it would reduce the size of the open space that they already have in the rear. It's a very tight lot. And this is in the back end of the Troy Shoreway, Gordon Square neighborhood, where there's similar context to garage of this nature. So we're not in opposition.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Any other questions from the board?
Questions?
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair, given the testimony we've heard today and the questions that have been answered. I move that we go ahead and approve calendar number 25-037.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Is there a second?
Board Member Roca, I second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar number 25-037 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send the appellant a letter, but he can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
All right, that concludes your matter, Mr. Young. Good luck with your project. We're
Thank
now
you.
going to you're very welcome. We're now going to call a case related to the property at 1905 Dennison Avenue. Do we have an appellant present for this matter? All right, I'll turn to Ms. Holzer to go ahead and read the case in.
Our next case is calendar number 25-038. This is at 1905 Dennison Avenue. John Wagner, owner, proposes to change the use of an existing two-family residence to a three-family residence in a B1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 4. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. It's John Wagner, John Wagner, and that's 1905 Dennison Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the call for this case? Anyone else in the room? All right, back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Roca. I will now turn to history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 1968, it was changed to multifamily. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1916, a permit was issued to erect a two-story dwelling. In 1926, a permit was issued to to make an addition to the dwelling. 1974, a permit was issued for a chain link fence. There are no variances on file. And then in the more recent history, we see that in 2022, rental registration was issued, 2020, rental registration was issued to the property. Lead safe certificate was issued in 2023 as well. There was a certificate of disclosure issued stating that the authorized use of the property is to family, and that was in 2022. And that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we have legal, please?
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the parking minimum lot area and maximum gross floor area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right, thank you. I'll now turn to you, Mr. Wagner. Can you tell us about your project?
Sure, thank you. I have some notes on my phone, if you don't mind.
No.
Excuse my use earlier. I was trying to organize it a little bit better as I was sitting down.
Okay.
But I'm requesting for an appeal of this section of the ordinances as the house was built in 1921, a neighborhood when smaller sized lots were prevalent and commonplace many years before the zoning ordinance was introduced. We've worked to upgrade, refurbish, and modernize this residence to a like-new condition so the entire neighborhood is uplifted and the area's quality of life is improved. Just looking to provide one more housing unit in the multifamily area. To speak to some of the ordinances here, as far as parking goes, there is the driveway in the back and a fenced-in yard. A driveway on the side and a fenced-in yard in the back. As Denison doesn't have any street parking, it's just the driveway that offers off-street parking, but there is the two side streets on either end. Whenever I had lived there last year, that was the parking that I'd use. I would say it would be like a 30-second to 1 minute walk to either one of the side streets. I did consult with my neighborhood planner the last time I was here, and she had pointed out that those side streets they'd either have driveways, garages, or parking in the rear. So I shouldn't be taking away parking from people living on those side streets. And as far as me parking there, I never had a problem, trying to squeeze in a spot as it was usually pretty open. The third floor, which I guess what we talked about before we started, this is more about the exterior than the interior, but it had its own separate entrance, bathroom, kitchenette, and bedroom. That third floor will have access to the two rear porches as well. I've tried to do everything above board on this property. When I had first purchased it, none of the work was permitted whenever I was going through with it. So I've worked through with the city, and this was like an FHA 2 or 3K loan. So all the work that's been done to the property has also been inspected by a third party consultant, and has been approved by the city as well. So I think that is pretty much it. The only other thing that I have here in my notes is I pulled up some kind of comps, if you will, like comparables in the area, as far as comparable to my building, as far as lot size goes and what they're zoned as, because currently I'm zoned as a 2-unit, looking to be zoned as a 3-unit. I pulled up some in the neighborhood. I'm not sure if those came across well enough, but I had pulled up some that have a similar lot that is zoned as a dormitorium, one as 17 to 19 units, one is 4 to 6 apartment units, one is a store with walk-up apartments, and another one with a store with walk-up apartments. So not directly triplex comps, but more than that. I know the dormitorium isn't a great side-by-side comparison, but still more than 2 or 3 living parties there.
Okay. I would like to clarify the context of this variance. It states that he's trying to change the use, but our legal standard quoted practical difficulty, which is the area, and I'm looking at 1 through 4. These are also area variances. So are we considering a use variance in addition to the area variances? Ms. Leonard or Mr. Bay, can someone clarify that for us?
Yeah, Madam Chair, this property is located in a multifamily zoning district, so we're not looking at the use for the amount of dwelling units he's proposing. The area comes in because it's a B area district, and so, you know, the max gross floor area that's being proposed, I believe actually the minimum lot area and the off-street parking is the main thing we're looking at today.
Okay, very good. I just wanted to confirm that the use was not an issue. Any questions from the board?
So yes, Madam Chair. So is it your testimony that you seek to park cars in the driveway in front of the windows on the side of the house?
Yeah, so that is one thing here. The driveway is adjacent there to the windows on the house. And that wasn't something that I realized was one of the ordinances whenever I was here. Although I don't believe there is anything that can feasibly be done on my end as far as like moving the driveway or creating more parking in the back. Ideally, in my mind, I had thought, you know, of assigning the driveway to one of the units to minimize any conflict between going back and forth. I know the main thing in here is as far as the windows, you know, if they're open, it's ventilation, cars are going to be parked there. I don't think there's anything feasibly that I can do about that, as many other driveways in the neighborhood are kind of placed the same way where it's adjacent to the house.
How many cars are you wanting to park there in the driveway?
It can fit 3 comfortably.
To get in and out, people would have to like back out into Dennison and let the other, so if you have like the 3 cars parked, the first car, the other 2 will have to back out to get that first car out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. 2 is like probably a little bit more comfortable, and even at that, what I would probably do is say, for example, for the 2 stores, we'll go with that for now. I would assign the driveway to the first floor. So anything with that would minimize conflict with the second floor, as you know, this first and second floor wouldn't have to communicate with each other on, you know, needing to get in and out of the driveway, as it would only be, you know, that party, whether it be like friends or family living together, they would need to coordinate moving cars in and out. If it is going to be more than 1 car, you know, if it's a single family in there, it's likely they might only have 1 car in there. So that would be no conflict.
And what difficulty will you face today if your variances are not granted?
Well, ideally, I would like to have it as 3 units to provide another housing unit in the area, as well as, you know, that would benefit me as far as like valuation for my house goes and other houses in the neighborhood. And I just don't feel like it would be reaching its full potential without that 3rd floor being approved. Yeah, I think that covers it.
And then with regard to the parking, what if those variances are not granted, what difficulty will you face there?
If the parking is not approved, what difficulties will I face?
Yep. If you had no parking, if we didn't grant your variances, what difficulty would you face?
I know as far as that goes, you know, if it was to stay as a duplex, and it would just, that driveway is the off-street parking, then I guess like if I was to get the place rented out right now as it's currently vacant, then I guess I would be doing close to the same, where I would assign the driveway to one and the other unit would need to use the side streets as well. I'm not sure if that answered it. I'm having trouble answering that. I don't know if I fully understand it or not.
So what we just need you to answer is, is if you don't get these variances today, what difficulty will you face?
So let me just ask it a little bit differently. You're asking the board to confirm your ability to have no parking at your lot. You're also asking us to grant you a variance for the lot area that you take up. Right now, you're proposing 2209 square feet, and what's permitted is 1791. And then you're also asking for a variance regarding the parking spaces placed in the rear half of the lot. So if we say yes to that, obviously your project is happy. But if we say no to that, how does that impact your project?
Sure. If we say no to that, then I wouldn't be able to get that third floor approved. And, you know, the property wouldn't be reaching its full potential as far as off-street parking goes. I'm not sure how the city looks at it, as I would consider the driveway off-street parking, but I see that it's here as 0. It is a little bit complicated because it's a duplex with a single lane driveway. So to avoid any problems, like I said, I would try to do the assignment. I thought about doing parking in the back. Although I don't think that's very feasible, as that would cut down on any kind of yard that they would have there. There would really be.
You have enough space back there? I mean, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, it's really tight. A lot of those lots in that neighborhood are the same. I don't think there's anything I can feasibly do to minimize, you know, the building size or the lot size, as all of my adjoining neighbors, you know, are making full use of their lots. And yeah, I think that covers it.
Yeah, I was trying to see what's in the back of the
It's like a little
unit
tiny,
as well.
tiny area.
A huge
Yeah.
tree take lots of space if nothing
Yeah,
else.
there's a tree back there, and there's the yard. I planted some grass back there and fenced it in for anyone that would like to have pets there at the
Okay.
property. And there's a gate that accesses the driveway there. If I was to figure out some kind of parking in the back, it would have to be for like very small, like compact vehicles. And even at that would probably be 2 spaces in the back. But as far as my argument on the, and I never had any conflict with the people who lived on those streets. And it was a very minimal walk, you know, to get to those.
Yeah, I mean, your challenge is that you have windows on that side and you're gonna have cars parked in front of those windows.
Mhm.
If-
My only counter argument
Oh, go ahead.
would be, I think that would be the case for, you know, almost every house in my neighborhood. You know, they have they have their driveway adjacent to their windows and right next to the house.
And I imagine that this write-up, I'm sorry, that picture is so small, my eyes are awful. The write-up happened because you listed parking in the driveway, correct? I don't know if that's a question for
Sure.
planning or.
As far as, you know, what put me up to this point is I had applied to the building and housing for the change of use from a 2-unit to a 3-unit. And he had gotten back to me with these 4 code infractions, which brought me here to the appeal.
And your understanding has always been that the parking would be on the street and not anywhere else. Is that right?
Yeah, it would be the driveway supplemented by those side streets, yeah. And the driveway would probably only be assigned to 1 unit, so we didn't have to do this whole musical chairs game of, you know, moving around cars.
Okay. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you could operate the triplex without parking, is what you're on the property, or are you saying that you have to use the driveway in order to be able to rent the property and have it be a feasible project?
I don't think that you need the driveway. Obviously, that is a, you know, a bonus to the listing, having that off-street parking. But I think those 2 side streets are a very short walk and have ample parking available to supplement that.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? I see hands raised. Shannon, are you interested in chiming in, or is that an old hand raise?
I will just state that, that if the testimony is that he's gonna park in the driveway, he's gonna need an additional variance for parking within 10 feet of a ground story that has windows, as Commission Member Roca has been stating. So I just want to point that out, that if the variance.
Is that any different from number 4 on the agenda?
I think that's already listed.
That is the one, right?
Yeah, that's a variance he currently needs that we would be deciding on today.
Got it. I was looking at only page 1. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Miss Faith, I can see your hand. Questions?
I think that's an old hand, but I do have a question.
Okay.
I'm interested to, number one, there is enough room to extend that driveway to the rear to accommodate one parking place in the back. Because there's 22 feet from the rear, excuse me, the rear lot line to the building, which would be enough to accommodate a parking place in the rear. I would be personally opposed to a variance allowing parking within any openings within the 10-foot opening to, excuse me, I'm trying to eat lunch. I would be opposed to any variance approval to allowing parking within 10 feet of any opening to that elevation of the building or the rear elevation of the building. My question also was, how many sets of utility meters are on this building?
Yeah, great questions. To your first, I would say that I hadn't considered extending the driveway. That is a good point. Likely what I would do to avoid any conflict, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but assigning the parking, but it kind of made up my mind now that I would assign it to the first floor there, as those is the windows that would be affected the most. And that way you don't have to worry about, somebody in the second floor idling or something like that, as the first floor has their windows open. So there isn't kind of like a conflict of interest there, as the interest would be aligned. And second, for the utilities, the third floor utilities is only electric. So it has a third electric meter in the back, and then there is 2 gas meters and 2 electric meters separately for the first and second floor, and then water and sewer is just 1 meter that I would cover.
Okay, all right. So third floor electric utilities, only gas and electric for first and second floor, and you're amenable to extending the driveway further to the rear to accommodate at least a 19-foot parking pad to allow for a single parking pad for not adjacent or not directly next to the building then, correct?
Yeah, I think that could solve number 4 if I wasn't able to get the variance for it. I don't see it as necessary, although I do think that is a good solution.
Okay, great. All right, that concludes my comments and questions.
All right. Thank you, Miss Faith. Any other questions from the board?
Excuse me, Madam Chair, if I may.
Please.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, city planning, my name is Xavier Bay, I'm representing city planning. Yeah, we would agree with a lot of the comments that Member Faith had just mentioned, just at least adding 1 space in the rear to reduce the load of parking for the neighbors nearby. And we typically recommend approval for the area variances for the max gross floor area, things of that nature. And yeah, we wouldn't like to see any parking adjacent to open windows on the first story either. Thank you.
To planning, would he need to resubmit though if he were looking to extend the driveway?
I don't believe a resubmittal would be necessary. I believe, potentially, actually describing basically a new plan that delineates a parking space in the rear would be the most that we'd need as a resubmittal.
Could we make a motion without parking, and if he decides to come back and extend, then it would just be a separate variance? Okay.
Do we still have Miss Leonard on with us? Because I think it's a situation where he probably just needs to pull permit for that extension.
He can amend this permit application
Yeah.
rather than do a completely new one.
So we
Or-
vote and
or-
vote and then he amends?
I mean, I think what he can do is, as you guys normally say, you vote on it based on a revised site plan, and then they issue a revised site plan to us.
Right, exactly.
So let me just ask, I mean, is it your intention to install a parking pad or otherwise extend the driveway?
The only two things come to mind right now, if I was to, if you were to park at the very end of the driveway, of course, I don't know the measurement right now. The next closest window would be the kitchen window, which isn't at the corner of there because there is a common back stairwell there. So even that is a little bit more closer to that 9 foot wide is where that kitchen window is. So if somebody was to park at the very end of the driveway, they could be 10 feet away from that window, or if they decided to park at the very beginning of that driveway, there where their bumper was right there at the sidewalk, I believe that they'd be 10 foot from the window as well. I think the only other problem with extending the driveway is the fence that's already there, that is fenced in the yard, which meets right at the end of the house. You see where the back porch is, where that house meets the driveway. The fence meets right there, so I would have to move the fence as well.
Is that your fence or your neighbor's fence?
My fence.
Okay, so you could move it.
Mhm.
That's your property.
Mhm.
I think what you're hearing today is blocking the windows with cars is problematic.
Mhm.
So we're trying to help you find a solution.
Sure.
Madam Chair, it should probably be stated that there parking in that driveway, there doesn't seem to be any legal space in that driveway right now for parking. Because it is within 10 feet of the wall that has the window. It's not within 10 feet of the window. Shannon could correct me if I'm wrong. It's 10 feet of the wall with the openings with the windows in it. So he needs to be 10 feet away from the building essentially. I
Interesting.
believe.
So there's no scenario that
Mhm.
would
Even if he
make this
moves the
legal.
driveway back towards those trees,
There's still an issue.
he's still not 10 feet from the house.
Yes, if Shannon could correct me, I believe that's correct. I think that he has to be 10 feet away from that wall with the windows in it.
Shannon?
Yes,
We're always calling on you. We need you to chime in again, please, Chief Leonard.
I apologize, guys. Yes, yeah, that is correct. It's 10 feet within any wall that contains openings on the ground story. So I think though, planning can weigh in, but it may be preferable to not be between windows of not just his house, but the neighboring house.
Right, and so his only solution then would be to extend the driveway all the way to the back of the house, get rid of those trees and park one car in the back of the house.
Yeah.
He'd have to determine that with an architect. I don't know if it's necessary to remove the trees that are located. On this site plan, it looks like he would need to, but on other images, maybe not.
Trees aside, the 22 feet that he has in the back would be the only area where he could park a car legally.
That's correct, which is why he needs the variances today.
Yes, okay.
Or he moves forward without parking.
Or he moves forward without parking and withdraws his desire to have a variance to park cars there.
Yeah, I would say in response to that I think that the side streets supplement the parking here and the driveway is not entirely necessary.
Okay, so that would remove the need for the variance listed in number 4. That brings me to now number 3. Because if you agree to not park in the driveway, then you wouldn't need a variance that deviates from parking in the rear of the lot. Okay, so it looks like we're going to move forward with a vote on variance number 1 and 2. Is it your testimony that you're withdrawing 3 and 4?
I
Would you like
believe-
us to go for a vote on that?
I believe it's best to not apply for the variance on that.
Okay.
I'm kind of figuring this all out as with you all here, so.
Okay, so
Um,
we will move forward with a vote on numbers 1 and 2. I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, given the appellant's withdrawal of the variances for the parking issues, I move that we go ahead and approve the other variances for calendar number 25038.
All right, so we have a motion that approves variance number 1 and 2, given that 3 and 4 are withdrawn. Is there a
I
second?
guess I'm just confused on 1.
Okay.
So
Proposing that many things.
Now he has 0 parking. He's required to have 3 off-street parking spaces.
And we're allowing him to move forward with
with
0 parking
Okay, I
spaces.
just want to make sure. Okay.
Yes.
So he's not parking, you're not going to park in the driveway. Got it.
Correct.
Right. Is
Zero
there a
parking
second to
is
Ms. Faith's motion?
Madam Chair, I second.
All
Board
right.
Member Holzer.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. Can we call the vote?
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Faith,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar number 25-038 is granted conditionally. This will be ratified next Monday. We will send you a letter, but you can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Thank you.
You are very welcome.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, as far as the next step, should I go over with, building and housing, if I'm getting that third floor, you know, like approved, the triplex?
That's already been approved.
Mr. Bay?
Yeah, it sounds like the applicant's asking how to move forward with the triplex.
That's right, 'cause it's currently zoned, you know, it's a duplex, so I don't know, if, you know,
Yeah, this,
is there a notion that it's going to change publicly or not?
yeah, the results of this hearing pretty much, rectify the legality of the third unit. And so you follow up with our Secretary Elizabeth Kukla, and basically the next hearing, there's going to be a resolution where, they'll forward everything through that was heard this hearing, and then you'd follow up with the Secretary. I'll let Liz Kukla explain further.
It's not official right now. The board will have to ratify it when we meet next Monday. So the paperwork will be ready Wednesday of next week for you to take back to building and housing. There are additional steps in building and housing to get your certificate of occupancy is which will close everything and finish everything out for you.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Shannon, your hand raised. Did you have additional comment?
I was just trying to put my hand down, I'm sorry, but
Oh.
yeah, he did amend his site plan to show that he's not going to park in the driveway, and submit that to either Rodney or Marcos, whoever was his plans examiner.
Okay, perfect. All right, you clear about your marching orders?
Yeah, yes.
Yes? Okay.
Monday, the I don't have a paper Wednesday. So- Submit that.
Correct. You got it. All right, good luck with your project. Right, because you certainly did. All right, we're gonna call the final case. This is at 2273 West Sixth Street, and I assume we have an appellant, so I'll have Ms. Holzer read that in for us.
Our final case of the day is calendar number 25-041. This is at 2273 West Sixth Street. Timothy Ridgely, owner, proposes to erect a 3-story addition attached to an existing 1-story attached garage. Sorry, this one is a mouthful. Proposes to erect a 3-story addition attached to an existing 1-story attached garage to an existing single-family residence in a B1 family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please reply with I do. State your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. Magdalena Young, MAGDALINA. I'm 15614.
Can you please turn on your mic? Thank
Oh.
you.
Do I need to start over now? Okay. All right. Magdalena Young, MAGDALINA, Young. And the address is 15614 Detroit Avenue, Lakewood. I'm the architect for the project.
I'm Stephanie Ridgely. It's STEPHANIERIDGELY. The address is 2273 West Sixth Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. I do.
Timothy Ridgely, TIMOTHYRIDGELY. Address 2273 West Sixth Street, Cleveland, Ohio, 44113. I do.
Anyone on the call? Not seeing any hands raised. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roca. I will ask for history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This property was originally zoned general retail in 1929, and in 1963, it was changed to two-family residential. We did find that there was another address for this property. It was 2249 West 6th Street. And the most important information is that in calendar 18-59, this board granted a variance in April of 2018 to build a two-family residence in a B1 two-family residential district. And there were no conditions put on that variance, Madam Chair. Thank you. That's all that I have.
All right, thank you. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the required rear yard and maximum gross floor area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you for that. All right, I will now turn to the team. Who would like to go first?
I can go first. So,
Okay.
as you kind of noticed, the explanation's a bit convoluted, but basically what we're trying to do is above the existing garage in the rear is add additional 2 floors of living space above that. So as far as the first variance goes, we are not projecting any further into the rear yard. We are just following where the existing garage footprint is and going straight up from that. And this gives them additional living space on the second and third floors of the home to use as offices and bedrooms for their family use. And then we're proposing a covering over the existing 3rd floor roof deck and a small just stair access up to the 4th floor roof deck. So the resulting area, the existing area of the home already exceeds the maximum lot coverage area. We're proposing an addition of 1,263 square feet. It looks a bit exaggerated because there is also a full basement in this home. So the kind of overall number appears exaggerated for what it actually is.
Okay, so you stated that you are not encroaching into the rear yard any further than what has already been.
Correct. Where the
been done.
existing rear yard, or sorry, rear wall of the garage is, we're going straight up from it.
Okay. All right, any questions from the board?
So is everything going to be attached now?
Mhm.
Okay, so there's a walkway to the garage.
Yeah, there is already a small walkway. It's kind of like a recessed from the 1st floor. So it's already attached, and then it'll be all on the same level on the 2nd floor and on the 3rd floor.
Oh, I see. I'm looking at the Google Maps now. I see there's a small.
Yeah, it's kind of just a little passageway.
Okay.
But it is connected.
All right, other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, quick question. Just wondering if there is a need for additional excavation or any footers that are going to be needed to be added to the garage for the weight load of the additional structure.
No, not that we know of so far. It should just
Okay.
everything should be going up.
And then I'm curious, I'm just curious what the status of the building under construction is next door.
I would love to know the same.
Yes.
I built it, is it 3 to 4 years ago, and it's been sitting in that condition for several years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know of others colloquially that filed complaints, so
Mm.
it's
Yeah,
there.
But it's been left vacant for some time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
It's far from
Okay.
complete. There's no exterior cladding.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
sounds
right.
like a separate issue for the city.
It does sound
Yeah,
exactly
I
like a
was-
separate
I was
issue.
just curious because of the proximity to your structure and the potential for fire and those sorts of things. But that's all I needed to know. That's all I had, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Faith. Any other questions?
To that end, just because we're looking at Google Maps now, it looks like there's an air conditioning unit. Is that on your property? Is it next door?
There's an air conditioning unit on top of the garage.
And is
today.
that being
We'll-
moved?
We'll have to relocate that.
Okay.
And then what difficulty will you face if your variances are not granted today?
Okay, let's see. We both work from home. She runs a local business, my wife, the Elliott Wedding Venue, and so has moved to her home office here. My 2 sons come with us for spring breaks and summers and these kinds of things. We are out of room in this property. I work from home. My current office is co-located in my basement with my home gym. Doesn't make for a great Zoom background. It's very cold in the winter, generally not fun. The dog, 2 cats, these 2, this one, me, all of us in one. It's not great.
And sometimes the
So
mother-in-law.
difficult. Yes. Oh, yes. And then my mother-in-law comes. My mom comes down. So we're just absolutely out of room. This is going to add a bedroom, a proper office for me, a proper office for her. Generally make good use of the space, right? Because it's like you built half of what you could build. So, and it also is just in absolute keeping with the things in the neighborhood. There's another property like a stone's throw away that has a very similar design, all the things. It's like, why wouldn't you maximize the space that's there? But in terms of hardships and difficulties, like last summer was not great. It was significant difficulty.
And also, as far as the rear yard setback, just structurally, it makes the most sense to align with that existing exterior wall and go straight up from that.
All right. Any other questions?
One other quick question, Madam Chair. Where are you falling within the height wise as it relates to the structures across the street or behind you?
Yeah,
Yes.
if you go to the one presentation page had a good picture of the existing conditions. We are kind of in keeping with the of the newer homes in the area.
Everything.
Are definitely building up to this height. I mean, obviously there's some historic homes that are smaller, but everything that's new
Yeah.
constructed in that area.
You weren't
Yeah, you were gonna
cited
see
for height.
behind.
I just wanted to see how you were aligning to those structures.
It's
Madam
hard to
Chair, I'll
tell
make-
with that angle, but yeah.
Yeah. Madam Chair, if there's no other comments, I'll make a motion to approve calendar number 24.
Hold on, wait,
25.
Miss Faith,
Oops,
Miss Faith,
go
I
ahead.
gotta hear from city planning.
Oh, yes, let's not forget Mr. Bay.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. My name is Xavier Bay, representing city planning. We recommend approval for the variances. We don't see an issue with the square footage, and yeah, the rear yard is staying inconsistent with the existing structure. So there's no issues we see here. Thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, go ahead with your motion, Miss Faith.
Great. Given testimony we've heard today, move to approve calendar number 25-041, and a very fun garage door, by the way.
All right, is there a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second.
All right, let's call the vote.
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Ms. Faith?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar 25-041 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send you a letter, but you can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, good luck with your project.
I was pulling out
Congratulations.
with that garage, those 2 garages.
The boss has spoken.
I don't have a backup camera, so.
Seems
Yikes.
tight.
Yikes. All right.
Good luck with your project.
All right, so that concludes our matters for today. We will go ahead and turn to old business, which I had. Oh, here it is. All right, so we're looking at numbers 2 through 7. Any objections?
No objection.
No
No
objections.
objection.
All right, 2 through 7 are good. Now let's move to a request for hearing, or sorry, miscellaneous. Madam Secretary, can you explain?
Yeah, these folks are scheduled for the 21st. They informed us that they will be on vacation and they could virtually Zoom in, WebEx in or whatever, but they are asking if they could move it to the 28th.
All right, any objection there?
No objection.
No objection.
Objection. All
Do we
right.
have any problem with attendance that day so that they would have an issue with having less than 5 members?
That is our note, Ms. Faith. You are right on track. Please, before we adjourn, report any upcoming absences. So,
Okay.
anybody going to be absent soon?
I will be absent soon.
All right.
Though, actually, we don't have, do we have hearings on Memorial Day?
We will not.
Okay, well then I won't be absent because.
Okay. All right, so it looks like we're all set. Any absences reported from this end? Okay, so we're good to move this to the 28th. And that concludes our old business. We will adjourn at 11:51.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right, Ms. Faith, have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.